Hello, my fourth grade class. I'm Miss Rena, and today we're going to be talking about elapsed time. So, elapsed time is the amount that has passed during a certain time period. So, for instance, let's say if you attend a baseball game, from the time that the game starts to when it ends, that is the elapsed time. How much time has passed in between. So, to get an example of this, we're going to do a word problem, and the word problem is about going to the movies. Because when you go to the movies, movies have elapsed time. There's a certain amount of time that passes from the beginning of the movie to the end. So our problem says, suppose a movie begins at 11:45 a.m. and finishes at 2:30. How long is the movie? So we know it begins at 11:45 a.m. and it finishes at 2:30 p.m. So we want to know how much time is in between 11:45 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. So to start off, there's two ways that we can approach this. The first one is a chart. So with this chart, we just make a T-chart. And on one side of the chart, we're going to have the times that has elapsed. We're going to have the start time, and we're going to progress to our finishing time through hours, and we're going to label the hours on this side. So on this side we can put time, and for the first we're going to start off with our beginning time, which is 11:45 a.m. So the way that we do this, we use a make 60 approach. So if you remember in the make 10 approach, what you do is when you're adding two numbers that equal more than 10, you try to just add an amount that'll get to 10, and then whatever's left over, add that onto 10. It makes it a lot simpler. And when we look at time, we always regroup at 60. So right now we're going to make 60, and then every time we get to 60, we'll regroup. So to get to 60 from 11:45, that would mean that we need to get to 12 o'clock or noon. So to do that, we have to add 15 minutes. So I like to put an arrow to show, and that would bring us to 12 o'clock p.m. Now we have to get to 2:30, so we have quite a bit of time we can pass. So I like to, instead of adding by 15 minutes, we can just use the make 60 approach and just add an hour, which is 60 minutes. So if we add 1 hour or 60 minutes, that would bring us to 1 p.m. We still have to get to 2:30, so we still have some time. We could add another 60 minutes. That will bring us to 2 p.m. And then we have to get to 2:30, so all we have left over is to add 30 minutes. And that'll bring us to 2:30 p.m. So now we have our amount of time on this side. All we need to do is add it all together and see what we get. So what we could do is we can add the two biggest numbers, which are 60s. That's 120 minutes. And then if we add 15 and 30, that brings us to 45 minutes. So 120 plus 45 minutes is 165 minutes. Also, that is known as 2 hours and 45 minutes. So, just to review quick, we did a T-chart for our first way, and we did the make 60 approach with it. So we use our start time, and we tried to get to the next hour, or to 60 full minutes, and that was 12 p.m., so we added on 15 minutes. To get to the next hour, we just added on 60 minutes. To get to the next hour, another 60 minutes. And then to get to our final time, we just needed to add on 30 minutes. And then we added those minutes together and got 165 minutes, which is 2 hours and 45 minutes. Okay, so the next one that we're going to do, the next strategy for solving this is a timeline. And we use timelines in a lot of other things before. You've seen them, but they can also be used for elapsed time. And they actually work really well. It's a great visual. So we start off just by drawing a timeline. And our starting point is going to be the beginning time. So that would be 11:45 p.m. And our end time is going to be our finishing point, which would be 2:30. Oops, this is a.m., not p.m. This is p.m. Okay, so we're going to use the Make 60 approach again. And the way that we do this is we're going to use arrows to jump to our next amount of time. So we want to get to a full 60 minutes, which just like we saw before is to noon. So to do that, we just need to jump 15 minutes. So I'm going to use a small arc showing that I'm jumping plus 15 minutes. And there, the new time is going to be 12 p.m. And then, like we did before, we jumped an hour next. So we'll jump 1 hour. That'll bring us to 1 p.m. And again, we still have some more time, so we're going to jump another hour, which will bring us to 2 p.m. And then all we have left over from 2 p.m. to 2:30 is 30 minutes. So let me just label this as jumping 30 minutes. So as you can see, this is a really simple visual of it. We have a timeline. This is going to show our time elapsed. We start off with our beginning time of the movie, which is 11:45, and we need to get to 2:30. So just like we did in the chart, we jumped 15 minutes, we got to 12 p.m., then we jumped 1 hour, got to 1 p.m., and then we jumped another hour to 2 p.m., and then all we had left over was 30 minutes, which got us to 2:30 p.m. So these are two different strategies you can use when calculating elapsed time. Some things that some students can struggle with sometimes is forgetting to regroup at 60 minutes. That can be something to struggle with. Also, and so the way that we would figure out our amount of minutes, sorry I forgot to go over that, is we just add these up. So just like we did before, we can just put them down at the bottom to make it easier. So let's add 1 hour and 1 hour together. So if we do 1 hour plus 1 hour, that equals 2 hours. And then if we also do 15 minutes plus 30 minutes, plus 30, that equals 45 minutes. Excuse me. And then if we just add these together, move that out of the way, we get 2 hours is 60 minutes plus 60 minutes. So we can just do 60 plus 60 here, which is 120. And this is like we said 45, so 120 plus 45 equals 165 minutes, or as we said before, 2 hours and 45 minutes. So this is how you solve elapsed time problems. Like I said before, some things that students can get confused with is forgetting to regroup at 60, or else when they do this, sometimes they get mixed up with PM and AM. That can also be difficult. As you can see here, we went from AM to PM, so that's always something to keep in mind. Yeah, thank you for your attention.